knowing that this is going to be a series of two very, very interesting panels. So I hope that you're as excited as we are in this journey that we're going to spend time together.
So I recently graduated from the Founders Institute. It's an incredible startup accelerator program. I'm building a software platform called the Activation Project, and I would not have gone through that program and completed if it hadn't been for Martin Martinez. He runs the Founders Institute here in Austin. He put on this entire show. He got all of the sponsors. He is incredibly dynamic. Awesome guy. I'm so grateful for him. Martin Martinez, welcoming you to the stage.
What's happening, everybody? Let's do some clicky click. Look at that. How is everybody doing today? Y'all good?
Great.
I don't know if anybody's in this room. How y'all doing? Y'all good? All right, that's what I like to hear. I'm going to spend a little bit of time just telling you a little bit about Founder Institute. We got some great partners. Thank you to Olivia, thank you to JJ. Please, one more round of applause for Ava Joanna and Kim Roach for that sound healing meditation and breath work. Please. Kim's got an amazing retreat company, and she's got a little table out there, so if you're interested in joining what she's doing all around the world, she'll be out there talking. So please connect. There's a ton of couches down here, as well as these cushions. We left them because it seems cozy. So if you're back there grabbing a drink, please come up, have a seat. It's going to be a good show. So real quick, Founder Institute has been around since 2009. I was just the kid that brought it to Texas 7 years ago. Since then, we expanded in Houston, Texas. We expanded to Dallas, Texas. We graduated over 130 companies at this point, and we've run 20 cohorts. To date, our founders have raised over $25 million in angel and venture capital. Many of them are here, so if you see somebody with a staff badge, they probably are a grad. So please talk to them and learn more about what we do. This is a recruitment event, kinda, so if you are interested in applying and starting a company, Founder Institute's a great place to do it. So applications are open right now. We're gonna close at the end of the month, and we're starting our spring cohort in partnership with Opportunity Austin over at the Indeed Tower on April 10th. So please, if you like this event, I'll throw a couple more too, just for y'all. So thank you all again. I'll be back later on and bring up a special guest around 4, but please, these panels are incredible. So I'm gonna shut up now, kick it back over to Olivia and JJ, and they're gonna take it from here. So thank you.
So none of this would be at all possible if it wasn't for our incredibly generous sponsors. First up, we have Dell Technologies. We have YJ, who is one of their product managers, who's going to come and say a few words for them.
Awesome. Hey everyone, it's a pleasure being here. Welcome to Austin, Texas! My name is YJ. I'm a senior program manager for the Dell for Startups program. We work with so many different startup communities all across the US. Now we're expanding to Canada as well. So really excited that you are able to visit. How many of y'all here are from Austin, Texas? Nice. How many of y'all are from outside of Texas? So we have a lot of people here. For all the folks here in Austin, please give them the Southern hospitality that we're known for. But all that I want to say is that I'm really excited to be here working with Martin from Founder Institute. He just disappeared. Where did he go? Oh well, he's mysterious. So all that being said, I work for Dell. We have phenomenal programs to help startups with any technology questions that they need help with. We have a team of dedicated advisors that support you in your journey, especially as you're growing and scaling. And really our mission in life is to enable technologies that drive human progress. We have a phenomenal program called the Dell Women's Entrepreneur Network, where we just hosted an event 3 days ago with this organization called Beyond the Billion, where if you didn't know about them, and as you guys are very familiar with how women are currently getting 1.9% of funding here in the US. Yeah, we said that. Yeah, let's boo, that sucks, right? We gotta do more to help support female founders, but all that says, Beyond the Billion's on a mission to help congregate a lot of these VCs to pledge $1 billion to support female founders. And so we're partnering up really closely with them to make sure that we're creating the right community of the tools and resources to support them. And so if you're here in Austin, if you want to get connected with all the different initiatives, all the events, we're working with every single city leader from the chambers to Opportunity Austin to the Capital Factory. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to connect you. And I see some of my friends and service providers here that are about to go on stage and say what we can do to support you, because it takes a community to really help understand how we can leverage each other's strengths and talents and really support each other and ride the tide together. With that being said, welcome to Austin, Texas. My name's YJ, and it's great to meet y'all.
Next up, we have HubSpot, Kelsey. She's going to represent them today.
I represent them a lot of days, not just today. That's a fun fact. All right, I'm Kelsey Ina. I head up the HubSpot for Startups team across the Americas. Thanks. Heard some whoops out there. So if you don't know about HubSpot and the Startups program, HubSpot is essentially your whole customer relationship management. So everything from attracting your customers to being able to sell to them, to being able to service them once they put in their orders with you, all on top of a free CRM. And with our partnership with Founders Institute, you are able to get 75% off your software if you are a founder through Founders Institute. So one more reason to plug signing up for FI. It is so worth it. We have a couple of different things that you can do with us today. We have a beautiful orange cart out there that is giving you some recovery juice for any of you that need to recover and revitalize. Take a minute to talk to our team over there. We're also hosting a large event tonight for our startup founders, investors, accelerator partners. That's at Electric Shuffle. So if you want more info about that, again, sign up at the cart over there. It's going to be an absolute blast. Come find me on the shuffleboard if you're a real competitor. And then also we are going to be hosting very soon our second Gen AI event in San Francisco. So for anybody that is in the AI space and is looking for thought leadership, that's an amazing thing to be able to be a part of. If you have more questions about our program, about how to help you scale, I was a founder using HubSpot before I came over to HubSpot. We are a team of founders, for founders. Happy to talk to you about what that success looked like. And thank you so much, Founders Institute, for having us here today.
Awesome. We have an incredible panel here today with some amazing experts in different fields of mental health and wellness. The panel today is called The Controversial Path to Peak Performance. So we're going to talk about how to optimize mental health, especially for entrepreneurs. This is a subject that's important to everyone, but we're especially focused on the entrepreneurs, founders, investors today, because we know that burnout is incredibly imminent for a lot of us.
Thank you, Olivia. And before I forget, like Martin also mentioned, we have plenty of space here. Please come over here, and remember, as soon as you get into the sanctuary, let's keep silent so that we can also be focused on the presentations, mostly on what the panelists have to share, okay? Are we all good? Let me know with a thumbs up if you can say, okay, I got it. Hey guys. So, as Olivia mentioned, burnout, it is, in my theory, it's a silent pandemic. And not knowing how to address the signs of burnout leads to many founders to have their lives impacted, and not only their lives, but also the lives of the companies and also the clients and customers. So because of that is that we decided to go with the first panel, which is focused on peak performance.
So again, my name is Olivia McDonald. I'm the founder of the Activation Project. This is JJ Ruskus. He is a human optimization strategist. He has personally changed my life by introducing breathwork on just an incredible format. He is constantly optimizing and changing the way that he teaches, and it's helped me to save myself from burnout many times. But in this field of health and wellness, we have so much information, so many tips on how to biohack, and if I followed all of them, I would be sleeping with tape over my mouth, a nose guard, eye mask, blue blockers, waking up, doing gratitude journaling, breath work, meditation.
Infusion.
Did I forget any? So we're going to talk a little bit today about where is the best place to start. If you had a blank canvas, where would you want to start? Mind, body, or spirit?
Again, the question is, if you would have a blank canvas, guys, which one would you consider the most important area? So let's do first a quick survey. Who thinks that in order to optimize, we need to start with, in this case, the mind? Raise your hand if it's the mind. Just pick one of them, okay? A few people we have with the mind. Great, thank you. Second one, let's go with spirit. And when I mean spirit, and we're talking about the emotional aspect, the emotional fitness, how I call it. Raise your hand if it is
Connection,
with
harmony,
yeah, thank you.
awareness.
Right, thank you. Now let's go with the third one. What does body mean, Olivia?
Nutrition, sleep, exercise, nervous system regulation.
Okay.
pretty
And as you
even.
can see, there's an even number of people, and the reason why we created this panel is to foster critical thinking on each one of these areas. So let's go starting our speakers today.
Yeah, so the way we have it set up today is that we have 3 different speakers who are all experts in their fields, probably in each of these fields, but we're gonna have each one of them represent one of these categories. We're gonna have them come up and make a case for why theirs is the best place to start. So representing the mind.
Representing the mind today, we have a former NFL trainer and mental cognitive performance trainer, my friend Taylor Johnson. He is also nowadays training not only executives and high elite athletes, but in this case, he's also helping people on the cognitive side of esports games, which is fascinating, the things that they are doing. So I'm super happy to introduce, like I mentioned, my friend Taylor Johnson. Come over here, Taylor. Let's give him a round of applause, please.
And then representing the spirit, if you haven't guessed, is the lovely Kim Roach. She is the CEO of Coherence Retreats. She's passionate about really bringing sound healing and meditation to people that she's worked with. And we would love for her to come up and present the spirit.
Welcome, Kim. On the third chair over there, come over here. On the third chair, we have someone who has had experience on the entrepreneurial side and also has probably experienced part of the burnout. And that's the reason he decided to focus on first optimizing himself, as well as now through his company, Stamina Labs, help others through sleep optimization to tackle this situation of peak performance in a very smooth way. My friend Glenn Luber. Welcome, Glenn. Okay, let's get into business, guys.
So Taylor, I want to start with you. I'm curious, why do you believe it's most important to start with the mind?
It's a great question. I'll just say there is no wrong answer, right? So whatever you feel called to, start with that access point. And for me, what I think of the mind is it's this incredible supercomputer, right? You can choose to think of it as a computer or not. The reality is our conscious mind is taking in so much information, really our unconscious mind, and our conscious mind can only process so many bits at any given time. And so if you think about what we need to do on a day-to-day basis, we need to generalize, delete, and distort information, right? It creates the filters of how we see our world. So our perception is our reality, and our internal reality is based on our values, beliefs, which then drive our behaviors. So as you generate more awareness, and you understand who you are at your core, and actually cognitively think about that, you can start to create the blueprint of how you want to navigate the world. So it's just one of the many ways to access performance.
Amazing, thank you so much.
Kim, let's go with you. In this case, what is the approach that many times is underrated around starting with the spirit side, right? How or why do people should start optimizing with the spirit?
Yeah, thank you. I believe it all starts with spirit, right? We can have an incredible mindset through positive thinking and through goal setting, and we can have an incredible body through nutrition, but that doesn't necessarily tackle some of the deep core issues within us. And we can still feel super stressed or unfulfilled when we're not in alignment, right? We're very cheesily said, we're all souls having a human experience, right? Meaning that when we're not in alignment with our highest calling, with the whisper from the universe, that internal nudge, if you're not in alignment with that, then your life, whatever's not in alignment will only be louder, right? And it'll only be louder to the point where you have to almost stop everything that you're doing in order to get back into alignment with spirit talking to you, calling you to a higher path, to a different timeline. So to me, that's why it begins with spirit. You have to listen to the call.
Thank you, Kim.
It's a pretty compelling argument. Glenn, from your perspective, how does starting with the body create a ripple effect?
Yeah, I want to echo that there's no wrong way to start here, and it's your path, and whatever is easiest actually to do is the best way to impact behavior change. And you can make everything infinitely easier when you pay attention to your body, your sleep, your nutrition, your movement, your breathing. Everything becomes infinitely easier. You become less stressed. You're smarter. Your cognitive functioning excels. You have more stamina and energy to go about the day and solve problems. And you are just overall able to have more resilience through everything that's going to come at you. And when you're an entrepreneur, it's full of ups and downs constantly. And as JJ mentioned, I've been there, and I've been through that burnout stage. And the way back was to start with making sure my body was in proper alignment, when I was getting enough sleep and being able to eat well, and building the habits around movement and exercise.
So I want to switch back over to Taylor for a second. I once heard that the best definition of a miracle is a change in perspective. Because when your perspective changes, literally everything in your life can change. And I'm curious if you can give us a case study or of somebody that you worked with, maybe coached, in which this was true for them.
Yeah. Okay, so an insight is worth 10,000 thoughts, right? So if you really get that and take action on that, I think that's the biggest piece. Awareness is one thing, but action is what actually puts it into practice. So I worked with an individual, I think you all appreciate this, the serial entrepreneur, started a big company, got about $100 million invested, and then drove it into the ground. And he was a phenomenal visionary, just not a great operator. And so having that company get dismantled, it brought up a lot of shit for him. And so he went on to try to start another company, but kept repeating some similar patterns. And so he came to work with me, and what we discovered is he was still holding on to a lot of anger, a lot of fear, and a lot of guilt. And so being able to work him through that and release the guilt, actually we worked on 5. So it was anger, guilt, sadness, hurt, shame. And so being able to work through those emotions and release them completely rewrote that story about this limiting belief that he had that he could start another successful company. And so, yes, one, having that insight, shifting your beliefs is one aspect of it. 2 is then now what? So part of that back end of that release work is who is it you're going to become physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? And what are the values that you're going to create to drive beliefs and then your behaviors? And so you're constantly checking, do my actions, my behaviors, match my values? And yeah, at this point, I think he's created 2 more companies successfully. And actually it impacted his personal life too. So he was showing up at home for his kids, he was more present. He wasn't hanging on to the anger, he wasn't hanging on to the guilt, and so it changed his life.
Thank you, Taylor. By the way, if you notice, guys, we purposely created this debate so that we know that it's not only an isolated area of optimization, but we wanted to, like I mentioned, bring some options for critical thinking. So that's the reason we're going to have them just focus on one area. And hopefully we're all going to go through a conclusion at the end of this conversation. Based on that, and talking about also, Kim, about the role of an entrepreneur, the spiritual area is one of the most underrated, I would say, or someone doesn't know actually how to get into it. Now, based on your perspective, and basically similar to what Olivia mentioned, what is a use case or an example that you can provide us to know like where someone started and what was the result out of working on their spiritual side?
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to give myself as that example. I worked in corporate for 9 years, and I made good money doing it, and I was at managerial and director level, and on paper it all looked really great. But again, my soul knew that I wasn't in alignment with my soul's calling, with my highest self. And it's this, your intuition speaks to you, and your intuition, that spirit talking. And when I was working my 9 to 5, I was constantly stressed out. I hated the job I was working in, I was working in pharmaceuticals too, just complete 180. And I cracked. I was literally sent to the hospital twice because of the effects that stress had on my body. The linings of my lungs became so inflamed it hurt to breathe, so I had to work on my body as well. And what I did was I bought a one-way ticket to Nicaragua, and I was like, I'm gonna just do my healing, I'm gonna just focus on me. And I came back from Nicaragua, and at this time I was living in New York City, which is also a really intense city. And I was like, I don't have a backup plan, but I'm gonna quit my job, and I'm gonna trust the universe. Sometimes there's this like letting go and trusting that it's all gonna be okay too, and that's your relationship with spirit. And yeah, I trusted, I let go of the job, I let go of the city, I moved, I went traveling for a little bit, and then I spent, the next 6 months until present day. Actually, it's a lifelong journey, it's not a one-time dance. And I moved to LA, was working on my own spiritual awakening, I guess you could say, taking all the information, started sound healing, breath work, just doing all these different modalities that it became my life and eventually turned into my career. And now that's what I do for my job, is providing these spaces of spiritual growth, and people can really touch base with spirit again to gain clarity in their life.
Thank you, King. Very appreciated.
Thank you. Can relate. Glenn, I have to follow it up with a pretty powerful case study story. I'm just kidding, I'm sure you have a bunch. But do you have an example of when somebody optimized maybe their sleep or some aspect of their physical health and it really set things off for them?
Yes, there's, I'm going to mangle this quote, but it's, do I contradict myself? Very well, then I contradict myself. I'm large, I'm multitudes. That's somewhat Walt Whitman said. And I think that's important of a perspective to have, and what I've seen with entrepreneurs that I advise is that you become so connected to your company. It is everything, and you have to make it everything in order to make it happen, and at the same time you have to be more than just your company, because if the company has an up or down, you're going to have an up or down. And when you focus on being able to be at your best physically, that's a whole nother identity for you, and that allows you to be resilient and flexible and be able to change perspective, and which is exactly what you need to have to make good decisions when you're an entrepreneur. You have to be able to assess risk very well, and these come from being able to take care of your body, being able to sleep well, and when that's the first thing that I work with entrepreneurs on, is to be able to shift that perspective that they are more than their company, and they are. There's a reason that many spiritual practices have your body as your temple, and because that's a great way to place to begin.
Thank you, Glenn. Are you guys following up? Some of you, I bet, that have been in those situations. Raise your hand if you've ever been in any of those similar situations, right? We have all learned through pain many times. Now, Taylor, let me go back to you. I have this question around, let's go into more of the tactical aspect. So from the mindset aspect, the role of cognitive biases and thought patterns is key in decision making. So how do we leverage them, or how do we make the best out of this? First of all, to take care of the mental health of the individual, and second, to take it to the next level. What would you say?
Great question. So we've all heard stimulus and response, right? And then Viktor Frankl talked about the space between stimulus and response is the choice to choose. And that choice is interpretation. And so our ability to have information presented to us and interpret that, it can be positive or negative or just neutral. And I think the way that we can navigate our day-to-day is constantly having this awareness, right? Meditation, again, is amazing, and it's developing the sense of awareness and acuity, and can you do that moment to moment? And when you can in the moment interpret as you choose. And so I've been in burnout as well, right? I worked for a startup, joined at 10, I was number 10, I left at 150. And the way that I was interpreting that rocket ship ride, and for those who've been a part of that, it's like being strapped in front of a rocket with duct tape and bubble gum, and you're just hanging on for dear life. The thrash that you experience can be interpreted, right? It's your choice to choose. And so I think really giving yourself the opportunity to have that awareness, you'd say, okay, is this for me? Is this thought helping me? Like, how many people have been caught up in a thought and you become entangled in that thought and you know it's not helpful, but you just spin out of control? Show of hands, right? So that is also the awareness, right? So you're aware, and can you bring yourself back? So that's a little game, it's called it's observation entanglement. It's like, can you just merely observe the thoughts that you have and come back to baseline, whether it's with your breath or a spiritual practice, or do you become so entangled in that thought that you no longer have a grasp on the present moment? And so again, that's really helpful in the burnout situations because it's one, getting the sense of self. It's like, how am I actually doing? Let's ask the question, how am I right now doing a body scan? And then, is this information, is this really relevant? Is this a threat or a challenge? That's a great reframe. And can I assess the situation, or am I making assumptions? Right, so get curious, ask questions. And then the last one is, can I choose my response versus an emotional reaction? And it's like intuitively you kind of get it, but in the moment, man, like everyone knows, it's like you're just in it. But when you get those three things, those distinctions and those reframes, it changes the whole game. And that is the game we're playing. Like, the game of life is the most badass game you'll ever play. And the more you develop an understanding of yourself, whether it's cognitively, with your body, or spiritually, these are cheat codes. And the game's really fun to play. And burnout doesn't have to be the thing that you battle. Sometimes you need to, right? I had to learn my lesson the hard way. But again, so it's the interpretations, the cognitive biases that we have essentially, again, comes back to our filters. It's how am I interpreting this information? And the way we do that, we generalize, delete, distort. So the more you build a sense of awareness of how you're interpreting, like, this is all just information. I get to choose. It gives you a lot of power.
Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor. Yeah, I found that there's this middle point on the axis of mindset. If we're shifting from victim all the way over here to empowerment, there's this midway point where everything changes, and that's acceptance. And when you get to that place of radical acceptance, or yes and, like they teach you in improv, and you're like, okay, this is it, it acts like a current, like my friend Autumn would say, against the dam of resistance, and it just pushes you all the way out of this place of stuckness and burnout into liberty and radical ownership, and recognizing how much power and freedom we have in our ability to choose. But that place of acceptance is really key, and gratitude, I think, can oftentimes get us there, neutrality. Which brings me back to Kim. What would you say are some of your top modalities for connecting with spirit, connecting with our spirit, reaching connection, if you had to choose 3 of your favorite ones?
Only 3, okay. No, there's so many. Yeah. I'd actually just want to touch on the point that you just also talked about, acceptance as well. And kind of what you mentioned about like threats. I think it's super important to also note that when we are in this state of fight or flight, we are unable to expand because we're only in survival mode, right? So we really have to get our body back into neutrality, calm our nervous system, get our mindset back, and get ourselves out of the state of fight or flight so that we can expand, so that we can accept, and so we can let the flow in. And in terms of modalities that I love, I mean, I meditate every single day, and at nights I meditate twice a day, really to just connect back to myself, connect back to spirit, to set an intention for the day and set a frequency and energy for the day. And that really just helps navigate life. I'm also a sound healer, as some of you guys experience. It's one of my most favorite modalities, is working with frequencies. And medicine songs and medicine music, and sound is something that actually started my entrepreneurial journey within the spiritual wellness space. I started with a sound healer, which expanded into breath, which expanded into women's circles, which expanded into retreats, which expanded into life coaching, and now I'm just like this multidimensional being in my business, but it all actually started with sound for me, so it's one of my personal favorites, and I love guiding people through sound baths. And another one is super simple, affirmations, and probably that can also fall under mindset too, of starting the day and doing some mirror work and really looking at myself in this phase of my life and being where I'm at and loving where I'm at, and also just giving myself so much love, self-love and affirmations. And again, that really just helps shift your mindset, shift your energy, which is really important, and that helps guide me as well.
Those are my favorite too.
And as you can see, they are intertwined, entangled, like Taylor mentioned, right? Which is the beautiful of this. Now, going back to the body, Glenn, in this case, what are the top 2 or 3 strategies around body that we can start using, or that we can sometimes oversee, and that can bring out a huge ROI for an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of sleep as part of that's a big key to my business, and so I like to say sleep isn't everything, but it impacts everything. So really focusing on, when you're focusing on improving the conditions around your sleep, it's the whole day. It begins at the very beginning of the day when you wake up is how it's going to impact how you're going to be able to sleep in the evening. And it's these practices that I do as well. Having your morning attention, getting light is as much light as you can early in the morning. That's one of the key first things that we do when we help people improve their sleep, is getting that light first thing in the morning. It starts the master clock. Everybody's got their master clock messed up from last night because we all lost an hour of sleep, and so it has a ripple effect that you could possibly felt a little more tired today. But getting that light first thing in the morning is one of the first things that I do and what we work with people on. Trying to have a consistent bedtime and wake time. So when you start setting these things up, this sets up your when you can eat, when you exercise, and when you get off the screens in the evening. All these activities that you're doing throughout the day start to fall into place when you focus on getting good sleep. And now we're not all able to get the best sleep. We have families, we have kids, we have shift working, and so it's not about being perfect and doing it perfect every time. We have resilient bodies. I think it's where you can make an effort and where you can do things is what is the way. It's the way to get through behavior changes. Just do small, tiny things and do them where you can and when you can.
I'm curious about deep sleep.
Yeah.
How would you recommend increasing deep sleep? That's something that a lot of people I know struggle with.
Yeah, so the two major problems that we have people have is falling asleep and when they wake up in the middle of the night, being able to get back to sleep. And these strategies are around these sleep cycles that we go through, and which is the deep sleep and the REM sleep. That the REM sleep is so powerful for your mind. It's where you get the cognitive benefits. It's where you take everything you learn from the day and mind map it to all the mind maps you already have. And in fact, we did a study with using the Oura Ring to determine the more REM sleep you get, the more likely you are to get into the flow state, which is where we have all the magic that comes from all the cognitive benefits that we have. Deep sleep can be a function of just not getting out and moving enough. That's what your body's trying to heal itself during deep sleep. So without if you're minimizing it, if your deep sleep is minimized, that's the first part of your sleep cycle, and that's obviously going to affect the second part of your sleep cycle too as well, which is the power of REM sleep that we really want to get. So I'd like to hear what you think too about it, but my simple advice would be to get out and move more.
Move more. Eat less, drink more water, move a little bit more.
Laugh more too. First of all, thank you, Glenn, for clarifying why I feel like this morning, right? And
Thanks for the
the
validation.
reason why so many of us required extra coffee this morning, right? Like, oh yeah, times have changed. So let's do this. I want to also ask both of you. Let's start with Taylor, and it's going to be a similar question for also Kim, which is this idea of, so as entrepreneurs, we're going through under a lot, we're basically navigating lots of pressure, daily pressure. And so what does mental resilience, in the case of Taylor, and what does spiritual resilience means in the case of Spirit? And that's going to go later to Glenn as well. Let's
And
go
maybe
with
just to tie into that, like, how can you try to integrate and balance all of these without burning out?
Yeah, first thing I'll say is I don't believe in balance. I believe in harmony. The reason being is balance, if you look at the true definition, it's holding things in equal parts, and it just never happens. And so what I choose to believe and choose to act on is like, okay, what is the thing that I'm focusing on? How do I harmonize my life around that? It also takes off a little bit of pressure, right? It's like I gotta balance all these things. So I just want to speak that real quick because I think it's really important. So resiliency. So resiliency is really about your ability to bounce back, right? When you think about a resilient person, they may have been kicked down, but they get right back up. And in terms of mental resiliency, there's also this elasticity, right? You're trying to hold this tension. So if you imagine, we'll go like this way. So you imagine, here's where you are as an entrepreneur. Okay, so I'll put my foot out because it's easier to do this way. All right, so my left foot, my right foot, you're looking at the left. Okay, that's where you are now, and you want to get to where you're going. Okay, imagine there's a rubber band around my feet. I'm trying to pull my feet apart. I'm holding this tension, right? And the whole goal of entrepreneurship is to hold the tension long enough that your vision pulls you forward, right? But the missteps, the mistakes, the not getting the investment, right? It might pull your vision back or it might kick you down. So a big part of resiliency is being able to just continue to show up. And part of that is, again, the framing and interpretations and choosing to see things as an opportunity. Because entrepreneurship, like I love to joke that entrepreneurship is the fast track to self-actualization, right? Every day is a pressure test. You wake up in the morning, the question you ask yourself is, do I have what it takes? I'm gonna give my best and see what I got. And just that practice of continuing to show up to the dance is really half the battle. And the second part with resiliency is really key is, are you developing useful information? Meaning, like, if you're making a mistake, are you learning from your mistakes? Are you actually doing an after-action review and doing a full debrief and saying, okay, what did I learn today? That's why, like, journaling practice is phenomenal. It's like, put your objectives in the morning, actually write out who is it I want to be, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, how I want to show up. And at the end of the day, do a debrief and say, how did I do? Did I show up physically the way I wanted to? Did I show up mentally the way I wanted to? Right? So what you're doing is you're accumulating knowledge. And the important part is if it's useful knowledge. What I mean by that is you can make meaning out of anything, but if you have a goal and a vision in mind, you're holding that tension as hard as you can, you just have to accept the fact that things are not going to go your way. And so it's constantly choosing daily. And the useful knowledge is never make the same mistake twice, right? And then surround yourself with amazing people who have maybe made the mistakes that you might make in the future, and that helps patch. So you start to build your team around you, and that's how you move fast. Because entrepreneurship is really about moving fast. Like my mentor would say, it's 51% confidence at speed, and you pivot on the fly.
Let's get a round of applause for that.
Thank you for that. I love that. Spiritual resiliency to me is your spirituality really helps you define your purpose and it helps you come back to your why. And as an entrepreneur, you're going to go through a roller coaster. You're going to have the good days and you're going to have the bad days. And on the bad days, you're going to have to remember your why. Why are you doing this in the first place? What is the thing that is driving you to keep going forward? And that is your spiritual connection, your attachment to this deeper inner purpose, this deeper inner knowing that you're meant for more, that you're meant to keep pushing. And that is what you need to come back to when things get really, really hard. And then incorporate mindset and incorporate these other modalities too. But it all comes back down to your why in the first place. And spirituality also has this way of, these practices have this way of helping you accept what is and letting go of what is not in your control. And when you are resilient, you know how to keep pushing forward and you know when to let go and just accept things as they are and trust that it will still move forward, because all of the seeds that you have planted are going to sprout. And that's the way it works when you trust, when you believe in the universe, when you believe that source has your back, and when you come back to your why.
Let's go.
Well said. Well said.
How do you think that they did arguing their case? I'm curious now, who thinks you should start with the spirit? Who thinks you should start with the body? Who thinks you should start with the mind? So once again, we're completely divided, and that's really, really important, because each one of you is your own best expert when it comes to yourself, when it comes to your body, your mind, and your spirit. And it's really, really key to constantly be attuning to what you're feeling. What is the truth for you? What do you know is the right way for your particular body, for your unique human design, for your bio-individuality? And so we have everyone here, all the experts here, talking about their areas, even though they're proficient in all of them, as you can see. But really always remember that with all of the information out there, to always come back to yourself. I want to give them a couple extra minutes to just quickly talk about why they're here, what they're doing, where you can find them, especially Kim, since her introduction was so weak and I completely stumbled on that. So I want to give you a little bit of the spotlight so you can dive deeper into that.
Oh, starting with me. Okay. Thank you everyone for being here with us, first of all. My name is Kimberly Roach. I am the founder of Coherence Retreats. We hold spiritual wellness retreats across the world. We actually have an entrepreneurial retreat coming up in April in Costa Rica, an all-women's retreat in Joshua Tree in May, all-women's retreat in Portugal in June, and then again in September in Sedona. So we have a lot coming up if you're curious. We're about to sell out of like all of them, to be honest, but come talk to me and we can chat about it. I'm also a spiritual life coach, and I help people also start their own spiritual businesses, whether you want to be a sound healer or a coach or host retreats. So I help people do that, and my next cohort of my next 3-month program is starting in April as well. And then I do sound baths once a month in Austin, and I haven't decided when I'm going to do my March one, but if you're local to Austin, come see me and we'll get you signed up for the next sound bath. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. This has been great. Thank you. And thank you for everyone for listening. My name is Glenn Lubert, and I'm the founder of Stamina Lab. And we help people create more energy, focus, and resilience for a lifetime. And primarily we do that through helping people improve through their sleep. But like I said, sleep it impacts everything else. So we're really working on all aspects, your mindset, your breath work, and we work with we have a team of sleep coaches, certified sleep coaches that are trained in cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, nervous system management, and behavioral change. And one of our key taglines we'd like to say is it's Stamina Lab, but you are your own lab, you are your own best experiment, and you are your own best coach.
Well said. Yeah, first off, thanks so much. I really appreciate being here and incredibly humbled to be able to do what I do. And very grateful for all the mentorship and the opportunities that I've had along the way. So Taylor Johnson Performance, LinkedIn's probably the best way to find me, follow the work that I do, post all my content there. And so really it's working with top professionals across multiple industries, and it's helping them work through the mental game. Right? And a big part of that is releasing any negative emotions or limiting beliefs that are holding them back from playing a bigger game. So a lot of times I work with individuals who have already played a pretty big game and they're right on the threshold. They're about to step into this liminal space and either pivot, do something different, or go real big. And they know in order to take that leap, they have to, one, get right with themselves, they have to enhance their spirituality, they have to enhance their body, but really they have to enhance their mind. And so that's the work that I do with them. So it's a breakthrough session, I take them through that, and then on the back end of that, I build out a performance structure for them. So it's an adaptable system, and it's really about how do you optimize and figure out what are the critical success factors for you to be the best version of you and to do the work that you want to do. I'm also a partner of the Liminal Collective, so that's a global group. And essentially what we do is we take high performers across business, sports, military, and creative arts, and we run them through experiential accelerators. And so we'll take like we're doing a group in 2 weeks in Malibu. We're taking these top performers from the VC group, and we're taking their CEOs from about 6 of their portfolio companies and running them through these evolutions. So it's a very much an experienced framework of how to improve communication, trust, teaming, and then really just figure out who they are. So it's based on Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. So you come out the other end of that, completely different person.
Let's give them a round of applause, please. Three of them. Thank you so much. Personally, what I can say is I look up to them when I have. I'm also in the same industry, right? But like Taylor mentioned, it's like we're constantly learning from each other. And I would invite you. We encourage you to actually think critically, cherry pick what you have learned from each one of the panelists today, and apply what I call precision optimization, meaning understanding where is your starting point, and then iterating or experimenting with this area, and then with this other area, with this other area, and not only in experimentation that is ad hoc, but now we have frameworks to do that. I would encourage each one of you to come talk to the panelists. They will be hanging out during the next panel and afterwards as well. Anything else, Olivia?
Thank you guys so much. This was really inspiring and informative, and I like to do what I call re-fetishizing when I see one of these categories starting to falter, and get back into it with the information and the whys and the hows, and so this has been really helpful for me. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's give them one more round of applause, please.
So the next panel that we have is the Psychedelic Venture panel. We have some really incredible speakers coming, but before we do that, we're gonna have a couple more sponsors come up and say a few things.
Let's take a few minutes. Please stretch the body, take a deep inhale, shake. Go get a drink if you need, and we'll meet here shortly.
Monday,